Hello friends! So this week I spent a day doing something I've wanted to do for a while, and that is do up the front garden bed of our house. Now I say our, but it is a rental, and I know there's something to be said for not putting in time and effort and money into a property that is not yours. However, this is still my home and I still live here, and the state of the garden as it was really depressing me. I want to feel happy with where I live. And I somehow managed to actually put into action something I'd been thinking about for a while. Go figure. So this was the state of the yard before. The soil wasn't great and it was full of overgrown and dead plants, as well as these insidious spiky weeds that just look terrible. So of course, my first port of call was to Bunnings warehouse and the garden centre. I may have gone a little bit overboard. I bought mostly native plants and some soil, and hey, I got it all in the back of my car. I did have a little bit of a detour at Petstock where I met this cat whose name was Princess Peach, and I fell completely in love with her and sent Jiminy a bunch of texts about her. It is absurd for us to get another pet, but oh, just look at that little face, oh my gosh. So then we were back in the yard, and the first thing I had to do was pull out this horrible big wood thing. That took some time. I pruned it back, but I actually managed to get it out. I tried to film myself just like pulling up by its roots, but I really needed two hands for it and couldn't hold the camera at the same time. But rest assured, I did pull this whole thing right out of the ground, and it was unbelievably satisfying. This whole thing has been dead and taking up most of the garden for ages, and I loved getting rid of it. So once that was clear, I had some space to work with. I spent some time getting rid of all the sticks and the leaves, and of course pulling out the weeds, and then we were left with something that looked like this. Somewhere I could maybe actually plant some plants. I was already getting pretty tired by this point, but we were nowhere near done. I had to take a lot of rest breaks, and looking up at this was always a little bit like, it still doesn't look like anything, but I knew that we were getting there. I laid down some better soil, and I started planning out where all these plants would go. Now, I mostly got Australian natives, not only because I knew they would be hardy and be able to withstand the crazy temperatures we sometimes get, but just I wanted Australian natives in my yard and plants that actually grow here. I did make an exception for some lavender and a couple of daisies, but otherwise these are all Australian native plants, and it was unbelievably satisfying finding places for them and putting them all around the garden, and to actually see it starting to take shape. And by the end, this is how it looked. It's not perfect. I'm actually not much of a gardener. I haven't done much of this before, but gosh, it just looks so much better than this just absolute mess it was before. And so the thought of coming home now and walking up this front yard and seeing all of these native plants that I planted, I do have to keep them alive now, which is gonna be the key thing, and making sure it still all looks nice. I've still got a little bit left to do, but this was unbelievably satisfying and exhausting and dirty, but satisfying. And I love my little native garden.